ready?
We are.
Okay, and are we ready in the front, Jane? Okay, my fellow commissioners, since it was pointed out, I generally don't ask you, are we ready? Okay, perfect. Well, good morning. Today is Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. You can join today's board meeting via phone. Dial 971-254-3149, conference ID 736-023-979 pound. Audio capabilities are listen only and are offered on a best effort for the public. Our meeting is also live streamed, and you can join us by going online to tctvonline.com and clicking on live broadcast. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. Public comment. Those intending to provide public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us. Public comments received by 12 p.m. on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online before the meeting, and become part of the public record. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us by 12 p.m. on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners Office, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. Do we have anyone signed up in the room, or has anyone registered online for public comment?
No, neither.
Okay, we have no public comment. We have already called the meeting to order, so I would like to welcome everyone who is with us today and invite those in the room to please sign the guest list if you have not yet done so. And then we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Yamamoto, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we have no public comment. We will have one non-agenda item that we had an unscheduled item, and it will be taken after item number 8. Okay, we will begin with our legislative administrative agenda. Item number 5, discussion and consideration of modification number 2 to professional services agreement number 6051 with Northwest Medical Foundation of Tillamook, DBA Adventist Health Tillamook, for inmate healthcare services. We should have Matt Kelly, under Sheriff of the Sheriff's Office, with us. Oh, we have Lieutenant Sylvier with us today.
Yeah, he sent me this way.
He sent you this one. All right, well, good morning, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. How's everybody this beautiful Wednesday morning?
Doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Excellent.
So as you all have in front of you, we have renewed for the recontract with the Adventist program. It's been a great working experience with those folks. They're doing an amazing job for us since 2020, since we contracted through them. We are extremely pleased with their service. They continue to do an outstanding job, and we'd like to continue with that.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Perfect.
Commissioners, do you have questions or comments?
Just that I'm glad to hear it's still going well. I recall when the Adventist Health took over that service, and it's been a great partnership since, so I'm glad to hear we're continuing it.
Yes, it has been.
So thank you for being here with us today. Adventist Health is one of the great partners that we have in Tillamook County. They are, and they go above and beyond many times. And I'm glad that you feel they're doing a great job with the jail. This is important that we take care of our inmates. So I'm in full support here.
Perfect, thank you. And Rachel, this is an amendment you've had a chance to look at. We're all comfortable with the contractor?
Yes.
Okay, yes, perfect. Well, and I agree. Adventist Health is a really good partner, and having someone consistent at the jail is critical, and they've been able to provide that really good service. So appreciate that for them. I think we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of modification number 2 to professional services agreement number 6051 with Northwest Medical Foundation of Tillamook, DBA Adventist Health Tillamook, for inmate health care services, I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 6, discussion and consideration of a resolution in the matter of proclaiming Hangar B as an official historical landmark in Tillamook County. We have Julie Perlman, Jean Keniston, Friends of the Tillamook Air Museum. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I can read a prepared statement on behalf of Friends of Tillamook Air Museum in support of the resolution request, and I'll just start now. Naval Air Station Tillamook Squadron ZP-33 was commissioned in 1942 and decommissioned in 1948. Hangar B was constructed to house ZP-33 K-class airships used during World War II to patrol coastal areas from Northern California up the Straits of Juan de Fuca bordering Canada. Hangar B is one of the largest freestanding clear-span wooden structures in the world and the only hangar from that era still open to the public. Hangar B remained in the hands of the Navy until the early 60s and was added to the National Registry of Historic Buildings on March 29, 1989. The whole property was deeded to Tillamook County, and then Tillamook County subsequently created the Port of Tillamook Bay. Hangar B has served Tillamook County on a variety of capacities by housing industries such as Aerolift Cycle Crane in the 80s, Earth Winds, David Copperfield performed a magic show, GSSL, General Electric, Ericsson Group, timber mills, storage, and currently a World War II museum known as Tillamook Air Museum. In the west end of Hangar B is a large timber mill which has been serving Tillamook County and our local economy for many years. The middle of the hangar is an area where local folks rent space for events and also can store their RVs, travel trailers, and boats. The construction of Hangar B was a work of art and happened in record time in 9 short months, November 1942 to August 15, 1943. Hangar B is over 1,000 feet long, around 300 feet wide, and approximately 200 feet high. If the roof were flat, it would cover approximately 12 acres, truly the Titan of Tillamook. In honor of Hangar B's 80th anniversary, we respectfully request that Hangar B be proclaimed an official historical landmark in Tillamook County.
Thank you, Julie. There's a lot of things there I didn't know. That was cool.
that is amazing.
Thank you. Commissioners,
Yeah.
questions and comments?
I think this is great. It is a historic landmark, and it may as well be an official historic landmark. I think it's something that's an icon. It's iconic to our county, and I feel great about making the proclamation. And I'm grateful for your service as volunteers and as workers to help it. I know that you're working on the sustainability of Hangar B, and I'm really grateful for that.
And I would concur. I mean, everybody that drives down 101, I mean, you can't miss this building. It is just huge. And it is the last remaining of what we had 2. One burned down, unfortunately. But it is a historic landmark, it really is, and this is something that we absolutely need to do.
Perfect. So Julie, can you share, by us proclaiming it a historic landmark, does that trigger any other opportunities for funding or anything that's helpful with the preservation effort?
We believe so. Gene can probably speak more specifically to that. He's the president of Friends of Tillamook Air Museum, Fotown.
Wonderful. Welcome, Jean.
And you are
muted. As we had asked you to be. There we go.
Okay. What we're trying to do is get the community involved to try and find funds to restore it back to its original. It's one of the only hangars that are left that the public is still allowed into. All the other ones are in private sectors. Google has one down in Central California that they're doing, and we just want to keep it open and keep it safe for the community so they can get into it. So that's our main objective.
And Jean, do we know yet what the cost is for that sort of restoration piece? I know that the roof has been a conversation for a long time, and just kind of, it's a huge, huge building, obviously, as you already talked about, huge undertaking.
It is. The monitor, which is the top, it's approximately 20 feet wide by the 300, I believe 350, correct? Feet long. It's between 1.5 and $2 million.
Wow.
Now, most of that cost is in safety equipment through OSHA.
Just to be able to be on the roof. Yeah.
To be up there that high, correct, and that's a huge expense. We've been working with the Port of Tillamook Bay, trying to raise awareness so we can put a bond together, hopefully within the next couple of years, to see if we can get the community involved to get that fixed, so it doesn't do any more damage than what's already been done to it.
Sure. Wow. Okay, awesome. And if somebody wanted to get involved, in case we have people out there watching, how would they reach out to you all to get involved?
Julie, I'll leave that to you. You know our website better than I know.
It's TillamookAir.com / Friends of Tillamook Air Museum. And also, you could just come to our 80th anniversary on August 19th. There's a free admission community event. There'll be sign-ups there. FOTAM is going to have a booth at the fair. So there's lots of community effort and outreach opportunities in the next few weeks to get involved and kind of check out what FOTAM is all about.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, well, obviously everyone should be at the Tillamook County Fair. So find the FOTAM booth at the Tillamook County Fair, because we know we'll all be there next week for many, many days. So thank you very much. So I think we're ready for a motion. And Commissioner, would you like to read the proclamation for that motion?
I would be happy to.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, in the matter of proclaiming Hangar B as an official historic landmark in Tillamook County, this is resolution number R-23-014. This matter came before the Tillamook County Board of Commissioners on August 2nd, 2023, at the request of Friends of Tillamook Air Museum. The board, being fully apprised of the records and files therein, finds as follows. 1. Construction of Hangar B began in November 1942 and was completed on August 15, 1943. The structure is one of 17 built during World War II. 2. Hangar B is over 1,000 feet long, approximately 300 feet wide, and 200 feet high. If that roof was flat, it would cover 12 acres. 3. 3.3 million board feet of Oregon Douglas fir lumber was used in its construction. It is one of the largest freestanding clear span wooden structures in the world. It is also one of the last World War II blimp hangars open to the public. 4. Hangar B was one of the 2 hangars built at the Naval Air Station, Tillamook, during World War II to serve the Oregon, Washington, California coastal areas. 5. Hangar B housed the Airship Squadron 33, also known as Blimp Squadron 33, which was used during World War II to patrol coastal areas from Northern California all the way up to the Strait of Juan de Fuca, bordering Canada. The blimps from Naval Air Station Tillamook proved vitally important to Americans during World War II. 6. In May 1960, Senator John F. Kennedy made a campaign stop at Hangar B. 7. Hangar B was added to the National Registry of Historic Places on March 29, 1989. 8. Tillamook Air Museum was established in 1994, and Hangar B is considered the Titan of Tillamook. First time I've heard that. The Titan of Tillamook.
I probably won't be the last.
Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that Hangar B is an official historical landmark in Tillamook County.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you both for
Thank
being
you.
here this morning, and we'll see you at the fair.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 7. Discussion and consideration of a 9th amendment to Oregon Health Authority Intergovernmental Agreement number 173148 for the financing of community mental health, addiction treatment, recovery and prevention, and problem gambling services. Frank Hannah Williams, Executive Director, Tillamook Family Counseling Center. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Commissioners. What you have in front of you is the Ninth Amendment to the Oregon Health Authority, IGA, and it is as it says for the financing of those services as listed. What that does is it allows for a payment of state general funds and block grants.
Frank, your microphone is kind of fuzzy. We're having a little trouble hearing you. Do you have something sitting over your microphone, perhaps?
I do not. Is that better?
A little bit. Keep going.
Okay. There isn't anything over there.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I could tell you. Is it better now?
A little bit.
A little bit. We'll listen carefully.
Okay. It is for the, again, this is for the funding of these services and for the passing along of funds to Tillamook Family Counseling to be able to provide the services that are listed, primarily mental health services for substance abuse treatment, and other services that are part of what was the 2023-2025 biennial budget by the Oregon Health Authority. This specifically, this allows for the funding of services between the period of time of July 1st through December 31st. Normally, what I will be probably talking to you about would be funding for the entire year. However, there are some, shall I say, some contractual issues between the Association of Community Mental Health Programs and the Oregon Health Authority. And so what we've done is, what has happened here is that the service reimbursement has been for this period of 6 months. While there's some negotiation around some procedural issues and frankly, the issues concerning from my own. So, are you able to hear me?
Yes. Yeah. Please continue.
So the amount of dollars for the period of time of July 1 to December 31st, we're really talking about close to $550,000. So, as I say, I would ask for your approval.
Perfect. Thank you, Frank. So this is something that the Local Government Advisory Council of the Association of Oregon Counties has been in conversation with and sort of understand. There's negotiations. There has been a desire to rework the contract between OHA and the local mental health providers for a couple of years. And it has been challenging. It has 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Changing of leadership at the Oregon Health Authority sort of brought everything to a standstill, and there's a desire, again, 3 steps back to get 2 steps forward. So with the amount of time it takes to get a contract finalized, it was decided that the best option was to extend for 6 months the existing agreement, continue to work toward a better agreement under new leadership. So this allows us to continue to receive the funding as we have, as I understand it, and continue to provide those services under Tillamook Family Counseling. And we should be looking for an amended agreement with any luck. I believe in October or November, it should be coming through the legal councils. I know that our county councils have been a part of that conversation as well into relation to what needs to be changed. So, any other questions? Or
that was an excellent summary. And I thank you for that.
Absolutely, Frank, absolutely. Questions or comments, Commissioners?
I'm fully supportive.
As am I. I mean, mental health, addiction, treatment, recovery, prevention, problem gambling services, these are all things that are important. And without Tillamook Family Counseling, I'm not sure how far we can get with this. So I'm very appreciative, Frank, and in full support.
Excellent, as am I. I think we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a 9th amendment to Oregon Health Authority Intergovernmental Agreement number 173148 for the financing of community mental health, addiction treatment, recovery and prevention, and problem gambling services, I would move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
I think he's got one.
Oh, we've got one more for you. Don't go away. Discussion number 8.
I'm here.
Okay, good. Number 8, discussion and consideration of an intergovernmental agreement number 180832 with the Oregon Health Authority for tort liability coverage as a provider for Psychiatric Security Review Board. Please go ahead, Frank.
This agreement is centered around tort liability coverage. And when I say tort liability coverage, one of the services that we are contracted to provide is supports for anyone who has been referred to the county or who is a Tillamook County resident who has been seen by the Psychiatric Security Review Board, and there has been a decision for that person to be able to be in the community. This is something that's always been part of our contractual agreement with Oregon Health Authority. And the issue related to tort liability is that this tends to be a population where there is a heightened level of risk. And when I say a heightened level of risk, it is that there has been some issue that has of some legal concern. There's been something significant in relation to what the person has done, and at the same time there is the overlay of the most likely a serious mental illness. This allows for some, in the event that there is something that happens in the community, and as a result of this allows for the passage of some dollars to the community, to the county, in the event there was an action against the county in relation to this particular person. What I would say is that currently in Tillamook County, there is one person who is under the jurisdiction of the Psychiatric Security Review Board, and in partnership with Tillamook Family Counseling, we provide services to that person. This person has been in the community for 7 years, and it's been a relatively positive experience for the person. Has not been a problem for the community, has not been a problem for law enforcement, and frankly, I feel like this situation is a lot less of a concern than there may be some other concerns in the community. I took a review of the person's file yesterday, and to be honest with you, I thought, we're doing a good job, and the person is responsive. And I feel very positive about that. And so I'm giving you that information. We're talking about one person in that situation, and that person really has not risen to the level of what I would consider to be a major concern in any shape or form. So I'm giving you that information, and you can. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you may have if there are any concerns that may surface. And again, I also say that in addition to whatever it is that may come from the Oregon Health Authority as a result of this, as a result of a situation, Tillamook Family Counseling Center also has a substantial amount of liability insurance as well. So if that sets minds at ease, I would hope that it does. And again, if there are any concerns that you have, I'd be more than happy to go into more detail about it. And perhaps if there was a request and you wanted to have some special workshop to discuss it, I'm more than happy to do that as well. So I am requesting your approval.
Perfect, thank you, Frank, I appreciate that. I know we had some significant discussion last year, because I think this is something that's come up previously, and you and I have stayed in touch over the course of the year to look at, do we have more folks coming into this classification in our community? Is there greater risk? And having just one, I think, sets us in a pretty good space, and appreciate the stability that you've described for this individual for the 7 years that they've been in our community, and the services that you're providing. So I appreciate that. Questions or comments, commissioners?
I do have a comment. I support the program, Frank, and I'm grateful for your work. And I wanted to tell a story that supports what you're just saying about the success of programs like this. My first professional job out of college was as a program manager for a developmental disabilities program elsewhere in Oregon. And at the time, the state was releasing people who'd been institutionalized. So they hired me to do a job where I was serving people who were developmentally disabled, mentally ill, alcohol and drug addicted, and had a criminal history, and they've been institutionalized, and they were releasing them into the community. So I got this job. I had just 3 clients, and they said, your job is to keep these people in the community, successful in the community, and out of jail. And I said, okay. So it was successful. It was a very good, successful program, and as is yours. What we really did was provide all kinds of wraparound services for people to help them be successful in the community. And I'm inspired to tell this story today because one of those people is still very successfully living in his community, and he still calls me. So this is at least 30 years later, at least, maybe 32 years later, he still calls me. He lives in Michigan now. And when he first came out of the program, I took him to an AA meeting every single day. And for a long time, he didn't talk at all. And then he started to talk, and people embraced him, and he made friends, and he felt comfortable there. And then he started going to church, and he got a job, and he became committed to taking his medication every day. And 32 years later, he's still totally successful. And I was just talking to him on the phone the other day, and I said, so are you still clean and sober? And he said, yes, I still go to AA meetings when I can get a ride. And he has a job, he has good relationships with his family. His life is going as well as any of ours, and maybe better than some. So, I'm just here to tell you that these programs can be very successful. So thank you for your work, Frank.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And Frank, I don't have any questions. I do have a quick question for Bill. Bill, I know you've read this. This is tort liability coverage from Oregon Health Authority. Apparently rather limited. It does state in here that county remains liable for any damages, including the cost of defense, in excess of this limit. I'm glad to hear that Tillamook Family Counseling also has liability coverage. So if we went through this liability coverage to Oregon Health Authority and exhausted Tillamook Family Counseling, would our CIS policy also cover the county?
I expected it would.
That's what I would have thought, so I appreciate that.
But, Frank's got a lot of coverage, I know
Okay,
that too,
good.
so I think we're pretty protected there. This is like just the first layer. I don't know what made the state take this step, but it's a little bit of a cover for us that we never had before.
Right, and I believe this has been part of the conversation for a couple of years as well, because I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, there was a pause, in fact, in accepting some of the contract because we were asking Oregon Health Authority to own part of this responsibility. We appreciate very much the programs that Commissioner described and how successful they can be, but we actually don't get to choose who comes back to our community, if I'm correct. It's really Oregon Health Authority who is deciding that we believe that they would be better served in community. And so asking, with that being their choice, not our choice, for them to help us, shoulder the risk So I think, having some piece of this from the state is actually a really good win. It's not as much, I think, as everyone would like, but.
Commissioner, I think that, we kind of have two different paths here. One path is the individuals who may be referred to the Psychiatric Security Review Board. And that's this level of tort liability that relates to this particular unit. The other conversation with the Oregon Health Authority that the Association of Community Mental Health Programs is in dialogue with.
Okay.
Dialogue has to do with additional individuals around some specific programming that isn't specifically related to the Psychiatric Services Review Board. And the association is concerned that OHA is perhaps not being as transparent about the level of risk in conversations with us about a whole host of other individuals who may have a level of risk in the community, and while there's requests that agencies serve those folks in the community, that they have not been transparent in engaging with the agencies around conversations in relation to risk, and sort of skirt that. And that has been part of the problem, and that's why we're having this 6-month pause.
Right.
And at this point, I'm not quite sure how that's going to go, but we're talking about, in some ways, two different paths here, and two different segments of risk in the community. And so this is exactly like it was a few years ago.
Okay.
This level of tort liability, I'm not trying to contradict you.
Oh, no, but please do, because you know better than I do.
I just wanted to clarify that in some ways issues are similar, and I think it's important to be able to be transparent. I know that I'm trying to be optimistic about how this is going to go.
Sure.
To be honest with you, I do not know.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Frank. I appreciate the clarification. This is tort liability that we have had for the Psychiatric Review Board. So it's the other one, aid and assist, where we're struggling with it. So, okay, perfect.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for the clarification.
Ready for a motion?
I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, consideration of intergovernmental agreement number 180832 with Oregon Health Authority for tort liability coverage as a provider for Psychiatric Security Review Board. I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we are going to take our unscheduled item, which is discussion and consideration of an order in the matter of a notice of intent to award a contract for Big Trout Bridge Emergency Repair Project. And we have Chris Leidy, Director of Public Works, with us this morning. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Commissioners. So what you see in my background is the Big Trout Bridge. It's a 9-foot wide by 89-foot long rail car. In December 31st, we had lost 8 feet of bank right there at the bridge. This photo was taken on December 31st of this year, where the county crew went in there and put a bunch of riprap in order to support the bridge. Just downstream of there, the river had migrated 30 feet. So we had temporarily stabilized. One of the concerns, or one of the issues we went through there is the design was ongoing. We made it to about 50%, and at 50%, the river moved. We had to start all over again. Construction is probably 2 years out, the summer, so the concern that we have is the high water event in this Three Rivers is known to carry a lot of debris. The concern is high water and debris hitting that bridge will cause the bridge to lift up and float downstream, which is exactly what we don't want to have happen. Sorry for the sun here. So we had an engineer create a temporary solution for this, Dow Engineering. He made an estimate that the repair fix would be about $99,000. In the budget, I put $250,000 because the design was ongoing. We received 3 bids, one of which was determined non-responsive. So we had 2 timely bids. The low bidder was Farline Bridge for $145,000. Farline Bridge, they're currently working on Green Creek and Sampson Creek up on Trask River Road. So this is a contract we're very familiar with. This is the notice of intent to award a contract. The next step, this would be out there for 7 days for a contractor to protest that. If there are no protests, then we would ask for next agenda to award the contract. We'll talk about that a little bit when we move into the next 3 items. So this is just simply putting it out there to let others know that they can protest this. We intend to award the contract.
Thank you. Questions or comments, commissioners?
Thank you, Chris. It's just amazing to think of all of the things that make this kind of work, your work, a moving target, as in a moving river. You know, it's
Literally.
Yeah. It's I appreciate your work on this and trying to prevent what could happen when we have the high water this coming winter. So I'm fully supportive of your solution and I thank you for your work.
And I would concur. And, you know, it does make a lot of sense since Farline Bridge is already mobilized in Tillamook County, that they're already here, they've already got people here, they've already got equipment here. It makes sense that they would come in as a low bidder. And Chris, I think you've worked with this company many times before, so you're keeping transportation whole in Tillamook County best you can. I appreciate that. Our winter months are chaotic, to say the least. Let's hope that this coming winter is not as serious as they can be. But Chris, we appreciate everything you do.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, and I agree. You know, I think they are a responsive bidder. You've got knowledge of them, have worked with them. I think that makes it a good selection. So I would suggest we move forward.
Madam Chair, in consideration of an order in the matter of a notice of intent to award a contract for Big Trout Bridge Emergency Repair Project, I would move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 9, discussion and consideration of a prevailing wage rate contract for construction with Bayview Asphalt Inc. for the Neoconi Paving Project 2023. Chris Laity.
So I'm going to turn my camera off. I'll still be here just because of the sun.
Okay.
Okay. So last week we had a notice of intent to award. This was brought forward to you with, they have 7 days to do this, which actually makes it the contract signature tomorrow. So we're requesting today that the contract be approved for the $156,847 for Bayview. If approved, you would be basically you'd be essentially approving it for signature for tomorrow, provided that we have no objections.
Okay, perfect. Questions or comments?
No, we covered this pretty thoroughly last week, so I'm fine.
And I agree.
Okay, I think we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a prevailing wage rate contract for construction with Bayview Asphalt Inc. for the Neoconi Paving Project 2023, I would move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 10, discussion and consideration of a prevailing wage rate contract for construction with KNB Quality Excavating LLC for the Fairview Road Huey Creek Culvert Construction Project.
So this is the same thing where we had notice of intent to award. K&B were the low bidders. This was actually tied to Green Creek Bridge. The beams were set yesterday, I believe, or the day before. I believe it was yesterday, where the permanent bridge for Green Creek was established. That means the detour route, all the materials that went in there can now be relocated from Green Creek over to Fairview and Huey. So as one project advances, that frees up the material to go to Fairview and Huey. So with this award, the contractor is ready to go possibly tomorrow, possibly Friday. So they can start putting that culvert back together. So this is a contract for $129,480.15, and this would be with K&B Quality Excavating LLC.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments?
Great news. I know we have folks in the neighborhood who are eagerly awaiting this work, so I'm thankful and supportive.
Perfect.
As am I.
Yeah, this has been closed for quite a while, right? Year and a half or more, perhaps?
It was close over winter. We pulled the old culvert out last fall because we weren't concerned. We were really concerned that that culvert would be washed out. It was in pretty poor condition. So we actually removed the culvert in a preemptive strike.
Perfect.
Preemptive strike.
Way better than letting it fail and having a car fall in.
I
So,
agree.
yeah, preemptive is good. Okay, I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, consideration of a prevailing rate, let me do this again. I move approval in consideration of a prevailing wage rate contract for construction with K&B Quality Excavating LLC for the Fairview Road Huey Creek Culvert Construction Project.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 11, discussion and consideration of a prevailing wage rate contract for construction with Road and Driveway Co. for the Slab Creek Road South Paving Project 2023.
Yes, this is was put together with a notice of intent to award last week. This is also to be signed tomorrow. This is approximately 3/4 of a mile. When you combine this with the work that is being done by Bayview up north and the work that the county is putting in, we are looking at about approximately $1.8 million worth of asphalt and contracted work to be put on the ground. If we can obtain the contract, if we can obtain the asphalt, this will be the single largest paving year we've ever had. And that includes, to the best of my knowledge, when the county was actually making their own asphalt. So thank you, transient lodging tax, otherwise paving might not actually exist because all the money is being diverted to bridges and culverts because you can't drive across the road if there's no road. So recommending award to Road and Driveway Co. For a grand total of $166,328.36.
All right, thank you. Questions or comments?
Thank you, Chris. I'm really grateful again for your work, and I think it's very exciting that we're having such a huge paving year. Clearly we have the need, and I'm so glad that we are able to do it.
Agreed.
I would agree. I love your comment as an engineer saying that you can't cross the road if there is no road. And that makes total sense to me, Chris. It does. I appreciate all the paving that you've gotten done. This is, in my memory, this is probably one of the biggest years for paving in Tillamook County. We've got so much more to do, but we're getting there. We are. And Chris mentions the transient lodging tax, which we provide 30% of our transient lodging tax dollars to public works to help maintain roads. It's a large amount of money, $1.6 million currently goes to public works. Unfortunately, that's like a third of their overall budget, which is very sad. But you're making progress, Chris. Keep it up.
Yeah, and I agree. This is, it's exciting to have roads paved. I know that, we've made progress. I think a few years ago, we were among the worst in the state, and last time I checked, we were about midway. Mm-hmm. So we have moved ourselves up in terms of how we compare to others and how much road maintenance we're able to do, so we are getting better. So I appreciate this work because I know that that's what keeps us at least at that midway point, or maybe moves us up so that we don't have the worst roads in the state. So appreciate the work. I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a prevailing wage rate contract for construction with Road and Driveway Co. for the Slab Creek Road South Paving Project 2023, I would move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate your time. Okay, moving on to item number 12. Discussion and consideration of an out-of-state travel request for Sarah Absher.
Commissioner Scar,
Have we lost our meeting link?
I just lost my meeting, yes.
Okay,
Do a quick pause then.
do we need a recess? Is it gonna take a little bit to get back?
I hope not.
Here we go.
Here we go. I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good.
Are we back, Deb?
I think we are.
Okay, perfect. After that quick breather. We'll move on to item number 12. Discussion and consideration of an out-of-state travel request for Sarah Absher to attend the Northwest Regional Floodplain Association 2023 Annual Conference in Spokane, Washington, 9/18 through 9/22/2023. We have Sarah Absher, our Director of Community Development, with us. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. If it's okay, the following agenda item request is for the exact same conference, so I'll just talk about the conference quickly with my request. Melissa Yank and I are both certified floodplain managers through FEMA's program, so we administer and are responsible for regulatory compliance for development in areas of special flood hazard for Tillamook County. With that, we are required to maintain our certifications every year with continuing education. This out-of-state travel request is so that she and I can both attend the NORFMA conference, which is a big acronym for FEMA's conference where we go to get our continuing education and keep our certifications in good standing. We are part of FEMA Region 10, which includes Alaska, Oregon, Idaho, and Washington. The conference travels every year to a different location. Last year we were in Vancouver, Washington. It was great. It was just a jump over the bridge, and it was actually pretty cheap to travel. This year the conference is in Spokane, Washington, which requires airfare and for us to fly. And so sometimes you'll see those airfare requests from us and sometimes you won't. It just depends on where they hold the conference where we need to go. So the conference is September 18th through the 22nd. It is in Spokane, Washington. We will be staying at the conference location, and we will be using shuttle service instead of renting a car because we do not anticipate having to go somewhere outside of conference accommodations when we get there. A couple of things that are important about this conference this year. FEMA will be talking about changes to elevation certificates. So they are going to be walking us through those changes, as well as the CRS, which is the community rating system. The system determines the cost for insurance policies or insurance. Mr. Kearns knows where next. It determines flood insurance policy rates for policy holders in Tillamook County. There are changes coming to the program, so we definitely want to make sure we are there. The risk mapping change updates will also be discussed at this conference. And then there's a huge piece on disaster mitigation and our obligations for disaster assistance in the event of a natural disaster. So we work with Randy Thorpe in emergency management, Chris Lady. And so this is going to be a very big conference this year. It's also possible I may be sitting on a panel for implementation of biological opinion in Oregon. So lots to learn. We are looking forward to going and definitely looking forward to keeping our certifications in good standing because the test is horrible. It's the hardest exam I've ever taken. So we appreciate you letting us go. We are asking if we can go, please, and be there for Tillamook County.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Questions or comments, commissioners?
Yeah, I'm totally supportive. Glad you can go.
As am I, and I was going to ask that question about the No Fisheries FEMA biological opinion, because I know you've come back from these conferences before and having many conversations with many officials from FEMA and Department of Land Conservation Development and all. That's important, but it's vitally important that you keep your floodplain management certificates in place. It really is, since Tillamook County is probably one of the most flood-prone areas is in the state of Oregon. So appreciate what you do, and I'm in full support.
Excellent, as am I. We have, as Commissioner said, more floodplains than anywhere else, and there's an awful lot going on. And we definitely want to make sure that our flood insurance program is strong for those who live here and utilize that program. And again, I think a lot of people don't realize the responsibilities that the county holds in order to make sure that that program is available and that it can be, we can actually have a horrific impact on those who live in Tillamook County and need that insurance if we don't follow through. So just being at the conference, getting your education and staying certified is absolutely critical, not only for county services, but for everyone who lives here. So appreciate that. And I appreciate that we have 2 floodplain managers. Having Melissa join you in that's really exceptional. Again, as we've talked about, just because of the workload that we have here for that.
Yes, and one other staff person, I don't want to put any pressure on them, but they are taking their exam this weekend.
Wow.
They are proctoring it, and so, yeah, we are expanding our team for the reasons that you've shared. We have to be strong in that area of our work.
Yeah, we do. There's so much building that happens there and timelines and all of those things. So, all right, I think we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of an out-of-state travel request for Sarah Absher to attend the Northwest Regional Floodplain Association 2023 Annual Conference in Spokane, Washington, 9/18 to 9/22, 2023, I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I believe that we've already discussed item 13 in conjunction with item 12, so if commissioners are ready, I would accept a motion. Oh, actually, I have to read it first. Discussion and consideration of an out-of-state travel request for Melissa Yank to attend the Northwest Regional Floodplain Association 2023 Annual Conference in Spokane, Washington, 9/18 to 9/22 of 2023.
Ready for a motion. Madam Chair, consideration of an out-of-state travel request for Melissa Yank to attend the Northwest Regional Floodplain Association 2023 Annual Conference in Spokane, Washington, 9/18 to 9/22, 2023. I would move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 14. Discussion and consideration of an order in the matter of establishing limits on the number of short-term rental licenses that may be issued in 21 geographic areas in unincorporated Tillamook County. We have Sarah Absher, Director of Community Development, with us, as well as Dan Kearns, our short-term rental attorney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just to be cognizant of time, as you are aware, Wheeler County holds their meetings at the same time you do, and Mr. Kearns is also obligated to attend those. So just to start the conversation before he goes, Mr. Kearns, is there anything that you would like to share with the board before I walk them through the order?
No, well, just that this has to do a number of different things, so be nimble. Go.
And I would, just to set the conversation, add that this is the last of 2 remaining orders for the short-term rental program. Mr. Sargent has solidified the contract with Mr. Rapaluya to serve as our hearings officer. We will be bringing that before you, not next week because of the fair, but that will be on the agenda for the following week. So yes, as Mr. Kearns said, this order today before you serves as a mechanism to wrap up several things about the 18-month process that has been underway for the short-term rental program. So I'm going to go ahead and turn to page 2. You can see what the actions are. So the first action addresses waitlist applicants. On July 19th, we talked about the waitlist application process and when to invite the qualified waitlist recipients to go ahead and submit their new short-term rental license application. Number 1, the first action of this order would invite them to apply today. So just want to put that out there in looking at the attendees on this virtual meeting. Several of them are on this morning. Good morning to them, and with signature of this order, we would be able to reach out to them and let them know that they are welcome to start applying and submit their applications. The second action item in the order establishes limits on the number of short-term rentals in each sub-area. There are 21 sub-areas that have now been defined through Ordinance 84 as it was adopted on July 19th. I want to say January today. So apologize right now. Those sub-areas, the 21 sub-areas, are listed on the first page of the order and then also in Exhibit A of the order. With that, I'm going to go ahead and jump to Exhibit A quickly. Within Exhibit A, you see each sub-area identified. You see the number of dwellings that we have identified per county tax records in each of those sub-areas. The number of STR licenses existing in each sub-area is the following column. The numbers include the qualified waitlist recipients. They are included in that column that has the letter B as in void footnote. As discussed at the July 19th meeting with authorization from the board, we added a 1% then to each of those sub-area limits. And you see that in the last column on the right-hand side. With this order, it would establish those percentages in each of the sub-areas. With that, a not to exceed number of licenses, which is why you see the license numbers beside each one of those percentages. And the reason why is because as we move into phase 2, which will have me going to visit with each of the sub areas to talk about their cap percentages, these numbers and these percentages could be diluted due to updating the tax roll every year. You know, depending on how development continues to occur in each of the sub areas. So while we continue to work thoughtfully and intentionally, but also setting those limits to ensure that communities and others understand what those limits on licenses are in each sub area, we want to make sure that there is a not to exceed license number for each of those areas. And so that is the column that is also in that last column that you see. So I'll just use Neoconi as an example because they are first on the list. And these are listed in geographic location. So in Neoconi, with the 1%, their limit would be 21% with a license number not to exceed 86. And what my suggestion would be is that annually, I can come to the board and give a report and an update for each sub area so you know what type of development has occurred with that rate of growth to come back and reevaluate whatever cap percentages are established in the future. But at least to reopen the program, get everything going once the pause ends on August 31st. This is where we would like to start for the program. So that is number 2. Number 3, the pause will end on August 31st, as already taken through action of a previously signed board order. With that, action item number 3 invites anyone who would like to apply for a new STR license to be able to do so starting September 1st of 2023. Action item number 3 also introduces the program resumption lottery. We have to have a way to accept new applications and reopen the program for new applicants and new issuance of new licenses. The program resumption lottery, what action item number 3 highlights, is that we will accept all new applications from September 1st to September 29th at 4:30 p.m. We will not be collecting fees at that time, just simply the applications. What we will do then is we will divide them into their sub areas to see which areas we have to do a lottery for that have more applications that have been submitted than the number of licenses, new licenses that are allowed as shown on that table in Exhibit A. The program resumption lottery, then transitioning into action item number 4, will take place on October 10th at 10 a.m. at the Port of Tillamook Bay. I've asked County Counsel Bill Sargent to draw for the lottery for us. He has graciously accepted.
I did?
Yep.
Okay.
And what we'll do is we will As the applications come in from September 1st to September 29th, we will send each applicant a receipt confirming we have received their application either by mail, in person, or through email. We will divide them and separate them into each sub-area, and we will number them. The applicants will then also know what number their application is. And then we will draw the numbers at the court at 10 a.m. on the 10th. And Mr. Sargent will help draw and announce all of the numbers. And then what we will do is we will draw all of the numbers for each sub-area for the number of applications. We will we will reach out to those recipients who then get to complete their application process for a new license and let them know that they need to pay their fees and also provide any additional information that's required that's missing from their application. The remainder of those applications drawn will then start the wait list in the order they are drawn for that sub area. So for instance, that's a lot and it sounds really complicated, so I'll use an example. Pacific City, under this order, and looking at Exhibit A, Pacific City would allow for 11 new licenses with the establishment of a 24% cap, not to exceed 334 licenses in that community. And let's say 15 applications are received during that time frame from September 1st to September 29th. We will draw in order of the lottery for all 15 applications. The first 11 will be informed that we will proceed with their application. The following 4 in the order that they are drawn will then start the wait list for that sub area. So that is what is highlighted in 3, 4, and then number 5. As per Ordinance 84, for any missing required information, they have 21 days to supply that to us. If they do not, they lose their opportunity to complete their application process, and we move to the wait list and pick the next recipient.
So,
Yes, please.
for people who are watching, the lottery is a one-time thing.
Yes, it is.
So we're just doing this lottery to get started following the resumption, and thereafter, we'll be utilizing the wait list.
That is correct. Thank you. Yes, and the reason why the department is recommending the lottery is because we may receive several applications for an area. We recognize that some people may be applying that live here, that may be applying from out of state, may have a management company coming in with several applications at a time. And we want to, our hope is to create some sort of equity in lifting the pause to make sure everyone who wants to apply for a new license has a fair and equal chance of doing that once the program resumes in taking new applications. With a first come, first serve, if someone comes in with multiple applications versus a property owner who's coming in with one, and the person with multiple applications is before them in line, do I honor all of those? And then this person then, is not, they may not then get a chance to, get a license. They would go somewhere down a wait list because the person in front of them had multiple applications. So I know that the department has been receiving some comments. The lottery is not a wildly popular approach, and we recognize that. However, the equity piece of it, of making sure everyone who submits an application within that time frame has a fair and equal chance of getting a new license, that's really what matters to us the most.
And the lottery won't apply in all of those areas. It'll only apply if in a particular area the application exceeds the new limit.
That is correct. Thank you. Yes.
Questions?
It's a lot. It is complicated, but it's complicated because we are very serious about making sure that there are equitable opportunities for everyone that wants a license. It's just impossible to do that in a very simple manner. And again, as Commissioner Bell mentioned, this lottery system is hopefully a one-time only event. After next year, going into next year, we should just have a waiting list, which should work out quite well. Sarah, you mentioned you want to come back to the board and do an annual report for new numbers. And yes, these numbers are going to get complicated in the future because number of homes in each community are definitely going to change, whether they're short-term rental licensed or not. And these caps which means the caps are going to change because of the fact that we possibly have more homes in a community. So I'm wondering when you were planning on coming back to the board with new numbers. Since we're starting maybe September 1, would it be September of 2024? And again, maybe we don't need that answer today. This is just something that community development, Bill, this board really need to consider as we move forward as to when we're going to announce the new numbers that we're going to have in each community.
So actually, I can answer that in part. So following action of signature of this order, if the board is agreeable to our proposal to reopen the program for new licenses, as promised, I will start working with communities and city managers for sub-areas to refine their caps. The exercise will not include reopening Ordinance 84 Amendment 2 and looking at any other pieces of the program. It will simply be, as a community, how do you feel about the percentages that the board have set to open the program? Would you like to see it increased, decreased? Areas like Pacific City with Kiwanda Shores, we may exclude them from limits and then reduce their cap. Nesco, when the condos are there, the community would like to have a conversation about should they be included in the formula for the caps or not. And so I will be back periodically throughout this year with reports from each community and sub-area. Commissioner Bell, you did ask for a schedule from me about what that will look like. I would like to start in Nesco and Neocani and Tierra Del Mar. Once those processes are underway and almost completed, where I am preparing to come back to you, I will start the conversation with Oceanside, Cape Mears, and then also Barview, Twin Rocks, Watsiko. And so then I will continue to shift and work in those schedules, starting with the communities where we have heard many comments about concerns about the number of licenses that are in their communities. We'll start with those 3 communities because they, have shared with us the most their concerns, and then move forward from there. So you will see some adjustments this coming year. Following that, my recommendation would be that I come back and report to you once the tax roll has been certified. So that would be sometime in October, November, because that is where we are pulling those dwelling unit numbers from. And so wherever we set them this year, then it will be that continuous conversation moving forward. And then annually, the board could decide what you want to do, because those percentages, as we continue to grow and develop, will become diluted.
So for members of these communities, you need to pay attention. As Sarah is visiting your community, asking for input from the community on their desires, maybe that we can manipulate the numbers. Manipulate's a wrong word.
Adjust.
Adjust the numbers as the community wishes. You need to be involved in these conversations when Sarah comes to your community. So please pay attention. Please become involved, as you already have been throughout this whole process. Those looking at this point to submit applications for short-term rental licenses. Again, this is a little complicated, but I think we've explained to you why this is a little complicated. We want to make sure that everyone has a fair chance to submit a license for a short-term rental. And so again, pay attention. This is something that is going to be incumbent on those that want to submit an application for a short-term rental license. And I'm not sure the commissioners are the best place for you to come to ask these questions. Community development is probably absolutely the best place. And so, Sarah, you're going to be very busy. It's not that you haven't been busy with many other things, but we appreciate what you do. And moving forward, I think this is going to help the communities. It's going to help the short-term rental agencies and owners. And I think we're in a good spot. As I mentioned before, this board was really threading the needle in trying to make sure that everyone was heard and everyone is giving a little bit. And that's I think where we landed. It was my comment, I think, that if nobody is completely happy in this process, then the commissioners have done their job. So it was that threading the needle portion that really took us a long time, after 9 hours of public hearings, something like that. So we appreciate all your input to this point, but continue to pay attention, please.
Agreed. I think, Sarah, you've done a great job of providing us with a path forward, and I appreciate that. I did the quick math, and it looked like we would be authorizing something close to 79 new licenses across the county. Obviously, those are broken up by the sub areas based on the development in the sub areas. So just thought that was a number for people to think about. I think the other number that I want to highlight, because I think people may hear 79 and think that's fairly restrictive, but I would like to remind people that under Ordinance 84, there is a use it or lose it clause, which says either you are an active renter in our short-term rental program with your license and you are contributing economically to our community, you are part of what we heard was important, which is providing an opportunity for people to come and enjoy our communities at the beach, and to make sure that our businesses are maintained with the level of patronage they need to survive and thrive. So 79 new licenses. In addition to that, there are 251 licenses that have not been used 30 days or more, that over the next year and a half will come up for, or the next year will come up for renewal, and a decision at that point will need to be made by the owner if they wish to participate in our short-term rental program as an active renter, thereby providing the economic support that we've heard so much about, or if they would like to relinquish that license, not renew, and have that hit this pool of available licenses as well. So I think as we talk about available licenses and we talk about the growth percentage, we currently are considering with this order a 1% growth. But I would point out that those 251 licenses are an additional, I believe it's roughly 2%, that would be active in our community. So as we talk about this, I continue to hear people, you're going to kill our economy, you are going to, you're taking away our livelihood. And I'd just like to remind people that the amount of tourism and the amount of visitors that we're seeing today will continue to be here because we're not taking away licenses. And with 79 new licenses, that provides some opportunity for our economy to continue to thrive and grow, for the transient lodging tax, which we talked about this morning with Chris Lady regarding to paving, to continue to support the needs of the county and the residents of the county. So I really hope that people will be able to take a breath and recognize that what we are working toward is a very intentional and controlled growth rate, and that it is not going to negatively impact the economics of Tillamook County. We have not shut down the short-term rental program. We have created what we hope will be a really responsible way for this to continue as an economic driver for our community, but continue with some intentional growth, not unfettered growth. So I think that's really where these caps come in and are an important step.
I'd love to respond to
Yes,
that.
please.
I agree completely. I think everyone on this board cares deeply about the economy of our community and the opportunity for economic growth. We're all committed to that. We're also committed to the quality of life for people who live here full-time and for our neighborhoods. So indeed, as Commissioner Yamamoto said, it's kind of threading the needle, because we are required to care about all of these things simultaneously and try to approach it with balance. I think I appreciate the discussion about caps and how they will change as development occurs. I think we saw this in Manzanita. Manzanita has had a successful STR program for a long time, and I believe their cap was 17.5%. And that was acceptable to the community for a long time, and the program worked well until they had a big spurt of development, and that meant that a lot more STRs were added to the cap because there were a lot more places. So I appreciate that we're going to check in regularly and talk about, you know, given development, is this still the right number? I really appreciate that you are going to do the work to work with communities individually to set their own caps, because that's essential. It's essential that we don't have a one-size-fits-all solution, because the needs of communities in Tillamook County are very different. And we already have a couple of communities that are overwhelmed with STRs, and you know, I want them to be able to sit down with you and talk about their vision for their community. So I'm really grateful for that work that's going to happen, and the speed with which you believe it's going to happen. That's an ambitious program, but I totally support it. I think I want to make the point that, to Commissioner Scar's point, that we're starting with the 1% for these communities that we've identified. However, it's really 2% because of the group of people, some of whom you said are online today, because of the group of people who will be entered into the program, who were in, and they had construction permits when we issued the pause, they have occupancy permits now. Those folks will be entered into the program. As you said, they're already included in the number of STRs on Exhibit A. They're already included in these numbers. So if they were not included in these numbers, it would be more clear to people that what we're actually adding is 2%. And I want to make that point because that's what the realtors asked for, and that's what the Chamber of Commerce asked for. So the business community asked for 2%, and it actually is 2%. And so, you know, it's important, I think, that people understand that. And the last point I want to make is that all of this is complicated, and I think it needs to be, as Mr. Kearns said before he hung up, there's a lot of moving pieces to this. And so the caps only apply to these communities that we've identified. I think there's 21. So the caps apply to these 21 communities. The caps do not apply to unincorporated Tillamook County outside of these communities. So there are no caps in those communities. However, there's distance and density. So if a person is interested in applying for an STR license in unincorporated Tillamook County outside of these established communities, they need to contact community development or get on the website and look, because I think there's an opportunity to do that, and figure out whether or not the distance and density requirement is about contiguous STRs. So we won't issue licenses for a block of STRs right next to each other. So if a person's interested in a particular property, they can get with community development or get on their website, and Sarah will tell us where, and determine whether or not there are other STRs contiguous to that property. So that's a different process. It is complicated, but it also provides more opportunities. I think that's all I have.
And I would just add to that, I think there's been some confusion about how this relates to cities. And to be very clear, each city manages their own STR program. What we're talking about today, what Ordinance 84 applies to, what this cap would apply to, is only unincorporated communities in Tillamook County, urban growth boundaries for cities, because we are responsible for those as well. But cities themselves, city of Tillamook, the city of Garibaldi, the city of Bay City, all of our cities have their own programs, and this does not apply to them. So just clarification on that as well. I had an opportunity to meet with some members of the Board of Realtors last night, and that was one of the points they said to please clarify, because they are finding that people are very confused. And I think everyone tends to be, because I think people think it goes, the state of Oregon tells us all what to do, and the counties then tell the cities what to do. And the reality check is that the state tells us all what to do, and the cities and the counties stand side by side, and we don't tell the cities what to do. The cities make their own decisions, and I think sometimes that gets confusing. This does not impact cities. This only impacts unincorporated communities of the county, the unincorporated area of the county, and urban growth boundaries of cities. So hopefully that clarification will continue in any materials that go out. Okay, any other questions or comments for Sarah before we take up this board order for a vote?
Ready for a motion?
I believe that we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of an order in the matter of establishing limits on the number of short-term rental licenses that may be issued in 21 geographic areas in unincorporated Tillamook County. This is board order number 23-054. I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Sarah, thank you
Sarah.
so very much.
Thank you. If I may add just a couple of things quickly. So first, I want to thank all of you and the public and the advisory committees, the communities of CACs for all of the amazing participation in this and for all of the support that the department has received through this process. Following this action, we will go ahead and update the community development short-term rental webpage with all of the new forms, the checklists, everything. We are ready to start rolling those out. For the waitlist recipients online, we will be reaching out to you later today and also sending an updated application form, etc. All of our forms, everything have changed. I'm sure they are ready to apply, so we want to make sure we get all those forms to them, the updated forms today. So we will do that. Also, the hotline is up and is working and functioning. People are calling it. As a friendly reminder, I would just like to encourage people with regular short-term rental program business to call the department, not the hotline. We're getting actually a lot of calls, but they're calling for general stuff. And then also the online registry is also posted online. So the hotline number and the STR registry for all of our sub areas and that identifies where all of the rentals are county-wide in unincorporated Tillamook County. There are links on the department homepage and also on the short-term rental page of the community development website. So I encourage everyone to continue to look for those updates. We will start putting all of that stuff out today. Perfect. Thank you.
One other quick. So, Sarah, we apologize to you and your staff. You're going to be very busy over the next month.
Okay.
You are. Thank you for everything you and your staff do.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
Okay, perfect. All right, we are ready to move on to item number 15, discussion and consideration of an American Rescue Plan Act subrecipient agreement with Consejo Hispano for Latinx access in Tillamook County. Rachel Haggerty.
This is an ARPA award for the community awards that you approved last year. We only have 2 outstanding, this one, and then we have the City of Tillamook's wastewater treatment plant one. There's been some turnover there, so I expect to be bringing that before you in the next couple of weeks. So I'll just read from the project description that was included in their grant application that's been incorporated into the exhibit. The Latinx community in Tillamook County keeps growing but lacks access to services, resources, and information, further marginalizing and isolating the community members. Services of the Consejo Hispano services the Latinx community, but it has become increasing apparent the dedicated staff and the space in Tillamook is needed to better provide services. This project will support staff and space expenses for the next 2 years while the need is further demonstrated and future funding is secured. So it's been executed by the recipient and it's ready for consideration.
Perfect, thank you. Questions or comments, commissioners?
I'm glad this is moving forward. I think the Latinx community as identified by the census might be 11%, but I think most of us who live here know that it's more than 11% for a variety of reasons, starting with the enrollment in schools of Latinx students, which is more like 30%. So if we, if we even split the difference and assume to that 20% of our community is Latinx, that's a big chunk, but it might be more like 30. So I'm absolutely committed to doing what we can to move forward in inclusivity of our Latinx neighbors.
Thank you.
And I would concur. This has been a long time coming, a great use of our ARPA funds. And I would full support.
Perfect. As am I. I look forward to having Consejo Hispano have an outpost here in Tillamook County. They do great work. They were down here not long ago, and they did it was a vaccine event that they did in partnership with the health department, and then I believe they were down here as part of the Mexican consulate that was here a couple of weeks ago. So they are working in our community, but it is difficult for our community members to be able to reach out to know where to go to find their services. So having an office here and a staff person here will be really exceptional. So I'm excited to have this coming on board.
Ready for a motion?
Yes.
Madam Chair, in consideration of an American Rescue Plan Act subrecipient agreement with Consejo Hispano for Latinx access in Tillamook County, I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we have reached the board concerns portion of our agenda. Are there board concerns today, Commissioners?
Madam Chair, I have an announcement, if I may. I am going to read a press release, which will be released to the public soon, if not today, by tomorrow. It is with a great deal of apprehension and yet considerable anticipation that I announce to you this morning my intent to take early retirement. One of the greatest highlights of my working career has been representing the people of Tillamook County as your local, state, and federal, at the local, state, and federal level as your commissioner. And I want to thank the people of Tillamook County for allowing me this great honor. I have been fortunate to work with many exceptional people from across the state and nation, but none compared to the amazing employees we have right here in Tillamook County. This has proven to be a difficult decision because of you, my co-workers, and I want to thank you for the care and concern you have demonstrated to do your best for the people of this county and for each other. I realize my early departure may be unexpected, but I feel it is time for me to concentrate on my personal retirement goals and my family. Please understand that I love this job, though it's not always easy, and this has been an agonizing decision. It is my hope that you will be understanding of my position. My exit plan, the timing of which is not yet set in stone, is to leave by the end of this calendar year, in all likelihood November or December. I want to be very clear that there are still things that I want to and need to accomplish before my exit, and I will be intensely focused and working diligently every day until my departure. As you have heard me discuss many times, projects like the National Marine Fisheries Service, FEMA Biological Opinion, the BIOP, State Forest Trust Lands, broadband for Tillamook County and the Northwest region, offshore wind, and the Kiwanda Corridor project remain at the top of my list to advance. As I look back on my tenure, some additional accomplishments I am proud of are my appointments to the Ocean Policy Advisory Council, OPAC, and Oregon Broadband Advisory Council, OBAC, as well as BOEM, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management Offshore Wind Steering Committee, Salmon Superhighway Executive Steering Committee, Oregon Tidegate Steering Committee, and Oregon's 100-Year Water Vision. Critical new developments in the FEMA BIOP include Tillamook County being named as a cooperating agency to FEMA, and inclusion of my National Association of Counties American Counties platform for my BIOP resolution. One additional honor I have is that I have thoroughly enjoyed my participation as a founding member of the Tillamook Working Lands and Waters Cooperative. This grassroots organization, with the encouragement and support of Oregonians for Food and Shelter, has catapulted us to the top of all such groups in the state of Oregon. With our successful series of tours showcasing modern forestry, dairy, and fisheries practices in Tillamook County, This is one of the reasons I can proudly pronounce, when it comes to clean water, habitat restoration, and fish recovery, no Oregon county does this better than Tillamook County. The Board of Commissioners office, along with County Council, is working on the process for choosing my replacement. Although I will not have a voice in this process, I look forward to sharing my opinions with the other commissioners prior to a vote. It is my hope that my replacement will have a strong voice for Tillamook County's robust, natural resource-based economy. Though my time here at Tillamook County is not yet at an endpoint, I am grateful to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not sure that Terry is looking forward to my retirement or not. She read me this quote the other day. She said, "When a man retires, his wife gets twice as much husband for half as much money." And she didn't laugh when she read that. I want to leave you with one final thought, a quote from George Bernard Shaw. "You don't stop laughing when you grow old. You grow old when you stop laughing." So with that, I want to thank everyone in the room. Thank you to the people of Tillamook County. I look forward to my remaining months in office. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Very difficult.
Well done. Thank you. Well done. Any other board concerns or comments? No. Okay, and I have none either. We will be working on the process to replace the commissioner, as he has indicated. This, of course, is something that comes along in state statute and how that all gets to happen. So Rachel and County Council will be leading us through the appropriate and proper steps, and there will be more to come. And I'm certain that we will have a farewell where we will take some time to both honor and roast our fellow commissioner as that time comes. So we won't do that today. But with that, I believe that we are ready to adjourn our meeting at 10:32 a.m. Thank you. Oh, I forgot the announcement. Oh, shoot. Go ahead.
You know,
Okay.
Good.